our barriers are shattered by our joy, the same thing is true in the spiritual realms above. In the spiritual realms, there are barriers, there are limitations, there are rules that govern the world. Basically, the rule is when you do good, you get benefits, help you continue doing good. And when you don't do good, you suffer difficulties to give you the message that you should change. Those are the basic rules. But joy below creates joy above, God's joy. And when we're at the level of God's joy, there's a transcendent dimension that's not bound by the rules. Trust as a means of creating miracles for Israel and in our life. There are a number of ways we can create miracles. There's myriads of ways. But looking at the classical tools God has given us, there's charity, there's psalms, there's adding, especially in something that seems relevant. There's doing something that's really difficult for you. Whatever's really difficult has a lot of power. And there's trust. We focused last week on trust. Trust creates reality. Did people have experiences where they created miracles? And yes, thank God people have, which is really beautiful. Something negative happens, a person can feel, where's God? God can't be part of this. Why would God do something so bad to me? So he's not here. He's not in my life. If he's in my life, this sure doesn't seem like something coming from him. And of course, that's a classical question, age old, very existential, very deep, many layers of answers. But what we focused on was everything is God. And when we experience something that we call negative, understand God is hiding. And God hides for us to find him. Metaphorically, of course, we can understand hiding and finding, but what does it mean realistically? Finding God is by trusting. When I'm in a hard situation and I trust this is God, I trust this is good, I trust this will be amazing, I found God. When I'm in a hard situation and I'm joyous, that's really weird. No, I'm joyous because I know, well, this is all God and this is all good and this sure doesn't look good. So that means great good is going to unfold. Something amazing is going to happen. I'm joyous. I'm excited. Nobody else in the world knows, but I know something really cool is going to happen very soon. I find God by adding him more. When I'm doing more and I'm saying, God, I know this is you. And I know the currency that you value is my service. So it's all you. I found you. You're not hiding. I know it's you. And I know what I can do to create the good I want and you want is adding in my service. So I found God. He's not hidden from me. I know it's him. I ripped away the disguise. I uncovered him. Fact is, I'm looking at the situation. I'm bringing him right in, dead center. I'm saying, I have to add. Why? Because it's all you. If it wasn't God, what does adding in my service have to do with correcting this bad situation? It happened, or it's past, or nothing's ever past completely. There's always room to correct. Someone was telling me today about a friend of hers who's older now, widowed, and was sharing that she had had a dream when she was younger of having 7 children. Unfortunately, she never had any. She got married quite late, and they never were able to have children either. Her husband got sick and passed away. So my friend was saying, well, whatever. I mean, it's just history. Nothing you can do about this now. I'm like, what are you talking about? God is so creative. She could get remarried. Her new husband could have children. Her new husband could have grandchildren. She could have children and grandchildren in her life. God's very capable. So when we say, God, you're part of the situation, and I trust you, I took him out of his disguise. I'm joyous. I know great things are going to happen. I took him out of his hiding place. I'm adding because I know it's you. It's nothing but you. He's not concealed. He's found. He's not concealed. And that's why when we do this, we accomplish the mission. Just as if the father is hiding from his child and the child finds him, he doesn't need to re-hide himself. The mission was accomplished. When God is hiding from us, for us to find him, when we are in trust, when we are in joy, we found him. So there's no purpose for God to hide anymore. So that's why our joy causes the good hidden within that wrapping paper to emerge. And why does God do this? We view it, we call it a test. And a test in our world means something that we want to know about the person, therefore we're testing them. Do you know this information? Do you have the skill down pat? Can you do this? I don't know. Here's a test. But that's not why God tests, we said, because God knows. God knows better than us exactly what we can do, exactly what skills we have, exactly the depth of our ability, of our commitment. So what's God testing for? And we explained that in Hebrew, the word to test actually etymologically means to raise. And when we're going through a test, we probably have gone through tests in our life. I have gone through many. I do not believe I'm the only one. I believe everyone here in this virtual room has gone through plenty of tests, all for the same reason. God wants to raise us. God wants to elevate us. God wants to give us the opportunity to access what we're really capable of. Meaning we all have inner strengths and we all have our working reality. And our inner strengths are inner. They're not part of our working reality. But when we're in a hard situation, we extract that inner strength because it's the only way to handle it. And that inner strength becomes part of our working reality. And that's why God tests. God tests so we change, so we grow, so we can take all that inner power and actually use it. And we discussed this last week, this concept of ourselves growing as we go through the tests of life, which are not random, which are all deliberate design, which are all very carefully thought out to be exactly like above our head. Like any good teacher, right? I'm a teacher. So if I create information way beyond everyone's head, I might sound brilliant, but I'm not going to be teaching you. If I create information exactly where you're at, it's easy, it's boring, therefore, it's no stretch, therefore, it's no accomplishment, therefore. So what does a master teacher do? You learn this with time. You go just above your students' heads. So there's the pleasure of the stretch, there's the growth, there's the accomplishment, but it's still doable. And that's what God does for each one of us. He knows exactly what's just a bit above our heads. It's a stretch, but we can do it. So what I'd like to do now is if everyone could to select something they are going to have positive, trusting thoughts about, trusting that God will make it all work out. And if we can envision ourselves in whatever stressful situations are related to that situation, having these positive, trusting, joyous thoughts. So once you think of what your target's going to be, you can raise your virtual hand or you can raise your real hand.
I got one.
Okay, I'm wondering where my hand raiser is. Somehow I've got a weird, I'm like waving. I don't know what happened to mine. I said tonight was really weird with everything technological. All right.
So I was thinking of our class earlier when this happened. So every Sunday, the local group here has been having a demonstration for the hostages, right? And sometimes we get more, sometimes we get less. When finding different locations around town that's more visible, you can get into more conversations with people and just we actually have a huge Anne Frank memorial here in Boise, so they wanted to meet there this week. We do, yeah. It's a funny story. That's a whole other interesting story. Anyway, so we have a great big one downtown. Anyways, so they wanted to meet there that week naturally, and but it was kind of a small turnout this week. So at the end, as we're wrapping up and we're talking, and they're talking about should we try this location next week and that location. So talking about lots of different locations we could go to try to be more visible. And when we were all said and done, we have quite a list. And so I turned to the gal that's organizing it and I says, no. We need to think about this like that today is the last one, right? Maybe one more, maybe two more. That's it. Like, we don't need to have a long-term plan for the hostages because we're praying that they're going to come home.
Exactly. It's interesting you speak about that because Lubavitcher would speak about this idea of like, why do we plan? If we believe the redemption's coming any minute, what do we have to make all these exile plans for? And he compared it to when the Jews were in the desert for 40 years, they never knew if they were going to be camping in a place for one night or for 20 years. And every time when they came, wherever they arrived, they had to completely set up their camp, even though they might leave that same day or the next morning, or they might leave 20 years later. Because if you actually look at the end of the travelings, for 40 years, they didn't travel to so many places because God gave them years in some place and overnight in others. So we have to look at every stop as like, this could be overnight. This could be for years. I set up camp completely and have total confidence that we're moving. We're moving tomorrow. And we have to have that like duality in our brain of these two concepts. Anyway, so I have my hand raised or something like that, or I did. Danielle has, and Natalie said she did, and I don't see anyone else. So we can't really do this if it's me, Natalie, and Danielle, when thank God we have quite a large group tonight. So I would like, now maybe some people like me just had difficulty finding that hand. I'd like everyone to think, if you can't think of anything, that's like pretty awesome. For me, it took like a second. I'd like everyone to think of what do I need to have more trust in? What do I need to trust more deeply? In what area of my life? I mean, you might think I have too many areas. Well, just pick one for the benefit of this. But you can't think of any. I mean, that's pretty impressive. Oh, I found that hand.
Oh, there's.
I found it. Last time I didn't.
Mm-hmm. I can't find my hand. I'm sorry.
Okay, you're up. Okay, fine. I'll take it. You're up. Natalie told me the same thing. Who else? Becca, Ruthie, Julie, Natanya. You see, we're pushing you.
Mm-hmm.
Something to trust in. Natanya said, all right, I got something. Becca got something.
Oh, I got a long list. That's
You got a long list. Natalie's got a long list. Okay. I don't want to put too much. I know it's been a while, so I'm like, oh, okay. I don't want to scare you off. We're glad you came back. Okay. So let's take that one thing we selected from our long list and really right now, all of us envision very strongly the situation that challenges this trust, and envision yourself really trusting, being excited, being happy. It's working out. It's like so cool. The rest of the world doesn't know. Your family doesn't know. Whoever's giving you the stress doesn't know. Whatever's giving you the stress doesn't know. God's going to work it all out. How do I know God's working it all out? Because I'm trusting him. And I just want to let's take a few seconds to really, each one of us, envision that. And I think at the same time, we could try to give our energy to each other, that we're all want to support each other, and we're all sort of turning to God, that every one of us should have success and strength in our trust, and every one of us should be able to have trust creating reality. And just envision your vision. Envision if it's a situation, it might not be a situation, it might just be a long-term running something in your life, but however you're going to envision when it comes up, and then just envision trust and joy. It's going to be great. I'm so excited. God's making it work out. I can't write the script for him because my script's pale in comparison with his. His creativity is way beyond anything I would ever think, but it's all working exactly as I'm trusting. It's all going to be amazing. I can't fill in the details, maybe, but it's going to be amazing. And I'm excited. You can maybe even use the word I'm happy, because it's all so amazing. So let's take a few more seconds to just envision that and really give strength to that specific situation in our life with absolute trust. What sometimes helps is when it worked out in another situation, or the miracle happened in another situation, and so you can rely on that. You could remember that. You can be like, I know this sounds crazy, but look what God did for me there. Look how that worked out. Look how that situation somehow resolved itself. I mean, that didn't seem possible either. That's very powerful. God's in control. God's making it happen. And so too here. And so too now. In this situation, it's gonna be just like it was before. Just like it's been many times. God's been there for everyone who's trusting him. So too now.
I have something
Mm-hmm.
that I told you I lost that gold horse that Jack had given
Yeah,
me.
of course I remember that.
Well, today, this is interesting because today I was just thinking of it when I was working outside. And I thought, you know what? I've lost it 4 times now. 3 times he's given it back. And I literally said, and I'll trust he'll give me it back again. I don't know when,
Exactly
how.
what you told us last week.
Yeah. So that's mine.
What you told us, you said, you're trusting. He's taking it, he's giving it back. And it's very meaningful. And there's no reason God, if we have time at the end of the class, I'll share a story with a diamond ring of mine. God's very capable of taking very good care of us. And sometimes, well, maybe I'll just share it now because you're mentioning it, thinking about trust. And remembering, like I said, remembering, it really helps to fuel our trust, to remember previous situations where God came through. Because as we remember previous situations where God comes through, this gives us strength, which means it gives our trust more power. It gives our trust more oomph. And just like Dixie is saying right now, as she told us last week, she lost the horse, it was found. She lost the horse, it was found. She lost the horse, it was found. Now we're up to time 4. Okay, God, you've done it 3 times before. You're going to do it. I trust you. And I think back to the other times. I have more strength in my trust. So I had a situation, my diamond ring. I got a diamond ring when I got married. And it was a day of one of my son's bar mitzvah ceremonies, celebrations in synagogue on the Sabbath. And I never eat outside my own house, like in synagogue, or I'm not, whatever, for various reasons. But it was my son's bar mitzvah celebration. So I was participating in the special meal, which of course we begin with the challah bread, which of course means we ritually wash our hands, which of course means you have to take off your rings. I took off my rings, I washed my hands, we had the meal, and I think it was maybe Saturday night where I looked at my hands and I'm like, where's my ring? Where's my ring? Uh-oh. Now, Saturday night, we're going to have the party. So I was like, I can't deal with this now. I'm just putting it on hold till after the celebration, which was beautiful. Danielle was there. And this was for our Fremmel. And we had a beautiful bar mitzvah celebration. And I worked very hard with him on a spiritual speech. He memorized verbatim, long and difficult, and he did a beautiful job, and I was so full of joy. And the party's over, and then of course I have to clean up from the party, and then I have to deal with my ring. And I'm realizing it must have been in synagogue because I took it off to wash my hands and I probably forgot to put it back. The question is, where is it? This is late at night. I'm like, I take my oldest son, I'm like, you gotta help me. We go to synagogue. Search. I'm like, we just have to go through the garbage bags. There's no other choice. It must be in a garbage. There's huge garbage bags. We went through every one of them. No ring. Whatever. And like, it's got to be in synagogue. I came back a day or two later. Search. I might have come a third time. I honestly don't remember. It was a few years ago. But I was like, okay. I did my part. Obviously, if the ring's supposed to show up, it's going to show up. And I don't really know anything else I could do. And I filed an insurance claim, moved on. Honestly, didn't think about it, didn't mourn it. For sure, spent the money very quickly on the needs of life and moved on. My son's bar mitzvah must have been about December. That's his birthday. In June, a friend of mine from synagogue sends me a message. What did your ring look like? I'm like, why? Already over the course of these months, from December to June, I remember another woman said, oh, my daughter found a diamond ring. It was like something from like Claire's, I was like, done. This is months later. She's like, no, I think I found your diamond. She said, I asked your husband, and of course, he had no clue. So whatever. I was like, you didn't find my diamond. This was December. You found it now in June. What are you talking about? Anyway, she comes to my house, and she had my diamond ring. What was the story? I'm probably forgetting the details, but I'm sharing it for a reason. So if it's a little bit long-winded, sorry, I have a point I'm trying to make. She said her daughter, I guess that day in synagogue, saw the diamond. It was a pretty ring. She was a little girl, and she put it on her finger, and she came home. Her mother did. A lot going on in the house. She didn't notice it, whatever. So here there's this little girl wearing my diamond ring on her finger, thinking of it like the type of thing you spend maybe $2 on. It's taking about that much care for it. And then the months go by. And then showing all these things that happened. They were throwing out their couch before Passover, like cleaning their house. They were getting rid of their couch. And just before they got rid of it, they said, let's open it up or search to see if there's anything in it. Oh, here's your ring. They found the little girl's ring, aka my diamond ring. They threw out the couch in the alley. there would have been my ring in the alley, in the couch. But God saved it. And then as they continue to clean for Passover, they're picking up the mattresses. And they're like, oh, hey, there's your ring. And now it was under a mattress where it would have stayed for eternity. But they found it because they were still cleaning for Passover. Anyway, life continues. And one day the girl comes home from school and she said, you know, my teacher said this must be a real ring. Because she said, otherwise it would have turned green by now. I wear it every day. It was like a real ring. Thank you for that, teacher. So then she looks at the ring and she's like, you're right. It's actually, now I'm looking at it, it's real. She's like, where did you get a real ring from? This is months later. Nobody remembers, including the girl, that she picked it up in synagogue. And she's like, And she remembers that when her mother passed away, her mother had left her diamond ring. And she had like given it to someone because they didn't have a ring for their bride. And then maybe the person sent it back to them. She's like, maybe this was my mother's ring. There would have been my ring lost in her jewelry box forever. And her husband's like, that doesn't look anything like your mother's ring. You know what? I remember Mrs. Turin lost her ring in synagogue. Maybe it's Mrs. Turin's ring. And when she told me the story, I was like, oh my gosh, here I was. I wasn't mourning my ring for the last 6 months. I really wasn't. I trusted God. I moved on. It could have been in the alley with a couch. It could have been under the mattress forever. It could have slipped off this kid's hand, or she could have traded it for a candy bar. Or she could still be wearing it. Her mother could have put it in her jewelry box and think it was her deceased mother's ring. Step by step by step, I wasn't paying attention, and God was taking care of me every step of the way. Every single step of the way. And I think that's an important point for Dixie's Golden Horse and for many, 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 many other things in our life. It's not only when we're banging on God's door. God takes care of us every step of the way, including when we're not even paying attention. We trust, we believe in God, and He takes care. And then, of course, I had to call the insurance company to say the ring was found. And then, of course, they told me to give the money back. And then, of course, I said I couldn't. I already spent it. And then they said, well, then send us the ring. I'm like, my ring? My ring that was miraculously returned to me after 6 months? So I said, I think I can afford maybe like $150 a month. And they're like, well, $150 a month? You know, you did voluntarily call and tell us you found it. Okay. And over quite a number of years, I paid back for that ring. Becca, did you want to add something?
Oh, well, I just wanted to say my challenge for, I couldn't think of one at first, but as soon as I raised my hand, I thought of one. And it's really other people. I have complete trust for me, for myself. I have no worries for myself. All my worries are about other people. And I just fuss and fret and everything about other people. And my older brother is helping me with that. And he helps calm me down. And he's like, it's going to be okay. It's really going to be okay for them. So yeah, that is my thing. I guess my experience is that I really worry about other people spiritually. And I pray and and everything but my brother is the one that he reminds me and says, God's got this. He's got you. He took care of you. Why wouldn't he take care of other people too? Why wouldn't he take care of their spiritual things? That's the main thing that I had trouble with coming from where I came from, Christianity, to where I'm at now. That is probably the hardest thing that I had leaving behind, is feeling responsible for bringing people along, a little too responsible, I guess.
I think every mother thinks about her children far more than she thinks about herself. I think that's endemic for being a mother. I could definitely say on my long list to God, the bulk of my requests or demands or pleas have to do with my children. So I think I imagine I mean, I think I'm normal. I think it's, of course. And as you say, if you're in a painful situation, it's always easier to tolerate your own than to tolerate someone else's. And a lot of times we are in a better situation than our children. You know, they're younger, they're still growing, developing spiritually, emotionally, mentally, physically. Like there's a lot more going on in the turmoil of their existence. And we have been through that. We're hopefully a little past that. So it makes perfect sense. And that's fine. And maybe your concern is I am serving God and therefore I know everything in my life will work out, but maybe I'm not confident my children or whoever else you're concerned for, maybe I'm not as confident in their merits as I'm confident in my own. And therefore how can I have the trust? I mean, I can trust because, like I know what I'm doing for God. So we got a relationship going and he's fair and he's just and I'm doing for him and he's doing for me. It works, flows. But my children, I think, how can I have that trust when they're not? And that's trust. Trust doesn't mean a scorecard. Trust doesn't mean you pulled out a scorecard and you said, oh, yeah, I see on the scorecard, this is going to work out. I trust. That's not trust. That's a scorecard. Trust means, God, I don't deserve this at all. I trust you. The Lubavitcher Rebbe actually raises this issue and he says, well, what are we trusting for if we don't deserve it? If we deserve it, you don't need to trust so much. And if we don't deserve it, how do I have the chutzpah to trust? Like, what if God says, no, you don't deserve that? And the answer is because trust makes us deserving. The act of trust, as we all know, is a lot of spiritual muscles. There's a lot of work. There's a lot of focusing on God and refocusing that God is reality and nothing else. And all that work makes us deserving of what we're trusting for. So the same thing is true for our children. The same thing is true. It's not a scorecard. It's not, do they deserve? You might say, I know they don't, but they're my kids or whoever else you're trusting for. The act of trust creates the worthiness. Now you could say, but it's different if it's for yourself or it's for someone else, because if it's for yourself, fine, the act of my trust creates that I am worthy. But if it's for my kids, how is my act of trust making them worthy? But it's not exactly like that. My act of trust is creating that this reality is going to happen. They're not worthy? It's okay. I did the work for them this time. Don't worry. They'll have other situations in life where they'll have to do it for themselves. But right now, they are being carried on their mother's shoulders. And every mother does that for her children. Julie, did you have a question or a comment? I saw your hand was up. I wasn't sure if it was still from the concepts or if you had something you wanted to add.
Yeah, I'm kind of new at this, the video and audio, and I did have a comment, but I just wasn't sure if I was techie enough to get in.
You did it. You did it.
Okay. Thank you. No, I just, I've been having trouble keeping jobs for a long, long time. Probably most of my life. So right now I have a big challenge to overcome because the school I would like to go to is, I don't know, it's like I want to go after my dreams, but then again, I also know I don't have like the finances right now to do what I want to do. But there's a school that's here in my state, but that's not really where I want to go. There's schools in Texas and Arizona, which those two areas would put me close to a Noahide community, which is what I would really like to do. But the cost for schooling there is about 10 to 20 times more than the closest schooling for job training. And I I really want to go for it, but I think I'd be out on the streets, begging for money to to get enrolled in the school. So
So
I
that's
don't know.
exactly something you can trust God for, because and the Bible speaks about this, that in Noahide 100% trust creates reality, just like a Jew. We all have that same power. It's a power. We all have that power. Our trust creates reality. So you're saying you have an impossible dream. Guess what? I'm also trusting an impossible dream. My impossible dream is different than yours, but it's okay. I'm not going to go back to school. But it's okay. I also have an impossible dream that I'm trusting in. That's fine. And maybe Becca's, for whoever she's trusting for, her dreams are also impossible. We don't have to limit God. We don't have to limit God to what's realistic. God's not limited by reality. God's credit card is limitless. God's ability to help us is limitless. God's awareness of us, of our situation, of how much we're turning to him is completely omnipotent, completely limitless. So if this is your dream, as you're saying, you're going for your dream by trusting God. You want me to be closer to a Noahide community, that I could serve you even better. And this is my dream. And do I deserve it? My trust makes me deserving. The act of trust is the catalyst to be worthy of it being fulfilled. So what's the hard work of trusting? Well, being calm and joyous and confident when nothing in the world seems to be implying that. That's the work. Knowing that God is so real that he's going to make it happen, even though nothing seems to imply it will happen. That's the work. And then God is very creative. God will figure it out. I like I say, I don't try to script him, because he never follows my scripts anyway. So it's like completely pointless. And probably whatever I script is just something else he's not going to do, So I give that up. I just trust it's going to be, and I'm excited it's going to be. I'm happy it's going to be. I'm confident it's going to be. It's going to be. I let him figure out the details. So yeah, I think that's a beautiful thing to trust for, and you just keep trusting.
It will be amazing however it happens.
Exactly. He'll figure it out. It will be amazing. And you're very excited because it's going to happen because you're trusting.
I'll turn this off. Let me figure out how to turn it off.
Anyone else? Anyone else have something they wanted to add? Okay, so as I said, remember the past where God has come through for you, because it really helps. It really gives us like more muscles, more ability to trust when we really can remember that, oh yeah, I remember that situation. I remember that situation. I remember that situation. All those situations were impossible also. They were all impossible. They were all impossible. And somehow they worked out. So you know what? God's not limited to what's possible. We always have to remember that. So as I said, we start with trust, and then we progress to joy, because joy is even higher than trust. Joy is even more powerful than trust, because joy means you're trusting so much you feel joyous. It's like the next level. And when we're seeing things so positively below in our world reality, it really creates joy above. Everything that happens above is dependent on us. So just like by us, the sages say, joy breaks through boundaries. When we're joyous, we're capable of things we couldn't previously do. Our barriers are shattered by our joy. The same thing is true in the spiritual realms above. In the spiritual realms, there are barriers, there are limitations, there are rules that govern the world. Basically, the rule is when you do good, you get benefits, help you continue doing good. And when you don't do good, you suffer difficulties to give you the message that you should change. Those are the basic rules. But joy below creates joy above. God's joy. And when we're at the level of God's joy, there's a transcendent dimension that's not bound by the rules. It can make positive things happen, even if we don't deserve it according to the rules. So joy is more powerful than trust. If we could just envision that, if we could envision the impact of our joy, if you could envision your joy shattering the barriers below, which shatters the barriers above, which then comes back and shatters the barriers below. It's that powerful. And again, why is it that powerful? Because joy really needs us to look at the world and absolutely see God. Look at the world and absolutely see it's good. Look at the world and be so confident and so empowered because it's all God and He's only good and it's only going to be good. Has anyone had that experience when they really felt, I'm saying just, trust is not just, but in our context here, because we're aiming for joy, we could say not only trust, but actually joy. Joy that it's happening. Joy that it's God. Joy that He's good. And with that joy, they saw barriers shattered. Becca?
Well, I can say that so this has been an ongoing thing for quite some time now. My fighting within myself about whether to, really wanting to be Jewish and not being able to be Jewish and whatever, just fighting, and also, looking for the right rabbi for me and everything. And I prayed about it. I got down on my face and prayed about it like 3 nights in a row. And then I just forgot about it. I got busy. Went on and did other things. And then I had that dream that I told you about. And so that really seemed to like put things into perspective for me. It seemed to say, okay, this is where you're at. This is what your path is. And I've actually felt so much like relief and actually, yeah, kind of some joy there because it's like, okay, then I'm not in limbo. I know which direction I'm headed in now. And I'm okay. I'm okay with being where I am, and yeah, it's nice. It's
Oh,
nice to feel
God
like that.
responded. God gave you that dream. That was a guide for you in terms of
It
what you're
really
supposed to be
was. I
doing.
mean, and I didn't take every little bit of it literal. It was just kind of a general message. And that's usually how he communicates with me because I am so scatterbrained and everything. The only time he can get through to me is when I'm asleep.
That works.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
we
that's
should
right.
all merit that one way or another, God should get through to us. Whatever His techniques are, whatever our limitations are, God should find the way. And you're right. When you know you're walking God's roads, it's a very joyous feeling.
It
Our
is.
sages say there's no, they actually say this. The sages say there is no joy like the resolution of doubt. Because when we're in a state of doubt, in a state of confusion, what am I supposed to do? There's such an inner angst. It can be very painful, it can really
Yes.
hurt. And when we know what we're supposed to do, we have that joy like, now I know why I'm in this world. Now I know what I'm supposed to be doing in this world. And yeah, so nothing got accomplished yet. You still didn't find out how to go on his class or how to connect to him or anything, but just knowing your road for sure, that gives us joy. And all of us should have that clarity of vision, that clarity of purpose. What am I here for? When I know what I'm here for, I'm walking the road. Yeah, it feels good. Like,
What I feel like I'm here for is to help create a hospitable environment for Jews, create a world that Jews can live in and be who they are in, and then people like me have our role to kind of help with that.
and you have your own service of God, and the making that hospitable environment is by you serving God. Because as you serve your God, the energy of the world changes.
Mhm.
And then you do more service, and the energy of the world changes more. And then you do more service, and the energy of the world changes more. And that creates a hospitable environment for Jews, a hospitable environment for God. That makes God comfortable with His world. So that's a pretty lofty job description. Anyone else? Anyone else has accessed that joy? Not just trust. Again, I'm not saying just to trust. Trust is work. That's why it creates reality. But joy. Robin?
Yes, I have in so many ways. By with the Noahide like going to synagogue and going to, Shabbos dinners. When I'm working with my clients at Nordstrom, meeting new people, listening, helping them. I always can feel this amazing energy and connection with each person. And it's very joyful. And I can just feel Hashem.
Well, you're in the right profession if your profession brings you joy. I don't think everyone can say that about their profession. So that's really special.
And another thing that I do, which I'm bringing up and out for myself, is I'm an interior designer. And so I have putting that together, and the work I've done in people's homes has been like 1,000 times what I've already have experienced, with individuals, to create the environments in their homes that bring them joy, peace, harmony, rest. And it's been amazing work that I've been doing and learning from.
Wow. So that brings you a lot of joy as you fulfill the reason for your existence.
Right. A lot of joy. Yeah.
There's nothing more joyous than knowing you're in this world doing what God wants from you in this world.
That is the best. It is the best.
It is the best. It's absolutely the best. Thank you for sharing that. So that's, I guess we'll stop at this point. We did not finish the topic, but hopefully we did some good work, some practical work, and put it in your pocket. We all, or most of us, selected something and focused on it and really envisioned it. And we tried to pull on the energy of the group. And it was, thank God, a large group and a lot of energy. And we should just really see it. Hopefully next week people will share the stories of what was accomplished by that trust and joy. Joy, trust creates reality. Joy shatters barriers. Shatters the barriers below, which shatters the barriers above, which then shatters the barriers below. So, God willing, we want to hear good things. Thank you.